And today we have the Orient Ray 2 with us. One of the most, I would say, one of the favorite budget warriors within the last few years. And well, let's talk about it. So here we have the Orient Ray 2 in blue, and this would be my first non-aquarium video, so stay tuned and let me know how you think in the comment section after you finish watching this. So for today, why this watch? Okay, a bit of backstory. This is kind of a personal story, I guess. Quite a while ago, I've been jumping between jobs. This was maybe 3 years ago. It was not in a good place, and I saw this watch at a nearby mall. I didn't know anything about watches back then. I just knew that, oh my goodness, this is really beautiful. And it is. I mean, for a budget watch, quote unquote budget, for some people this is I don't know, a month's worth of food for some people, including myself once upon a time. And yeah, this would be the first nice watch that I wanted back then. And so when the time came, I was in between jobs. I know, not the smartest time to buy a watch when I was in between. Camera focus? Nope. Camera does not want to focus. Camera hates me. Come on, camera. Just look at the watch. Come on. It's not that difficult. Okay. So as I was in between jobs, and I resigned from one job. This was like, I don't know, 3.5, maybe almost 4 years ago. And the 23-year-old me, being as stubborn as I was, I resigned, and I was so confident that I would get another job. And the day I left the job is the day I decided to buy this guy. A ballsy move, if you ask me, coming from a guy who doesn't have that much money. And no, don't come to me for financial advice. I'm still learning myself. There are better channels for that. So here we are just going to talk about the watch itself. So I got it as my first automatic watch, or my first nice automatic watch. I had a few Seiko 5s here and there. Seiko 5s are pretty good. They're pretty good. This is definitely a step up from your regular Seiko 5. Just look at the inky blue dial. It's borderline intoxicating. When you get the sunlight on it, this thing really shines under the sunlight. It's something different. And I'm talking about the beauty of this dial alone can compare with watches 3-4 times the price. Believe me, I've seen quite a few watches in my collecting journey, and this is one of the most beautiful blue dials I've seen. No joke. I mean, I'm not going to compare it to the Rolex Oyster in blue, but you get what I mean. It's a really nice dial. So what are my thoughts on this Orient Ray? I would say I have a fair amount of knowledge. I've been using it. I wouldn't say it's my daily watch, but at one point of time, this was my everyday watch. At one point of time, I probably used it almost daily for a span of, what, 2 years? About there, before I got different watches in between that took its place. I've had watches come and go, but this is one of the quote-unquote grails that stayed. I'm using the term grail loosely. I'll tell you why later on. So while I had this watch, you can see it's seen better days. Let me just close the clasp, get the clasp down. Yep, it's just a simple fold over clasp that is stamped. Nothing fancy, but it does the job. And come on, for the money you pay. Yep, my goodness, my fingers are not the most coordinated potatoes you will ever find. Put one here. God, it's much harder doing it in one hand. Okay, me fumbling around. Okay, so it's a press, and then you just close the latch, the safety latch, basically to prevent this thing from suddenly flying out while you're diving underwater. Ah yes, this is a diver's watch, by the way, my bad. So this is a diver's watch. As you can see, it's 200 meters water resistant. The specs, you can see them online. It's just pretty basic specs. It's a 40.5mm case, diver's bezel, 200 meters water resistant, screw down crown, and the crown is signed. Hang on, let me get a proper shot. I'm doing this with one hand, folks. Have mercy with my potato camera skills. As you can see, 2 lions over there. Not the best shot, but you get the idea. It's signed, it's laser engraved, it's pretty nice. The flanks are fully polished. I'll tell you the pros and cons later. Fully polished flanks. The sides are all polished. The tips of the lugs are brushed. Nothing fancy, but they are brushed. camera, be like, nope. Yeah, you can see it's not the finest brushing in the world, but for the price, it's pretty incredible to get this kind of finishing for the price. So I'll be flat out honest with you. Aluminum bezel, which will show scuffs pretty easily, and they do scratch. They do take scratches like a champ, I'll tell you that. They definitely show scratches. You can see a bit of scuffs here and there. Not the end of the world. If you're going to use the watch, it's going to get scratched at some point. You can't use a watch and not scratch it. It's just not possible. Day and date, convenient for most people, especially if you're as clumsy as I am and forget the day and date, and you wouldn't want your significant other come hounding at you for forgetting their anniversary, or well, your anniversary, but who the hell cares, I suppose. So bracelet is pretty damn beat up, I'll tell you. I'll be frank with you, bracelet's really beat up. But here's the thing, the budget watch that this is, yes, it comes with a really basic steel bracelet, nothing fancy, like really nothing. This is all push pins, 3 micro adjusts, fold over clasp, stamped clasp, and my finger gymnastics over here. And then you get the basic what do you call it, hollow end links. Yes, hollow end links. It's nothing fancy, like you see, it's so basic. I had mine engraved. Yeah, don't engrave your watch unless you're 100% sure that you have already given up on the watch game. Just don't do it. It's going to be a pain to resell it, which I am trying to do. I'll tell you why later on. And this is the back case engraving, the dolphins over here. I think this is really cool. Seiko has the waves of Kanagawa at the back. Orient has this laser edged dolphin, which my camera does not like, I suppose. Anyway, so real talk from a guy who has used this for 3 years plus and 2 years also as my main watch. How does it wear daily? Honestly, for the price, we are talking like back in the day it was like $200 US. In ringgit, I got it for about 800 something ringgit, which is, I don't know, something about $200 US. Plus minus there, you can do the maths. Fine. I'm not a mathematician and I'm pretty bad at maths after all, but it's okay. We are all watch people and we have different personalities. So for the price, this thing is pretty insane. Let me tell you why it's insane. Okay, what do you look for in a mechanical watch? Of course, the automatic movement. Yes, this thing has automatic. Give it the shaky. I don't know whether you heard the rotor, but yeah, it gets the movement going. It's already going, of course. It supports hacking and hand winding, which is, well, pretty standard these days, but hear me on. Hacking and winding. The loom is rather incredible. You get like, how do I put it? Yes, this is, sometimes I wear my watches to sleep. Sometimes, I know, crazy, right? But yeah, I wear my watches to sleep sometimes. And here's the thing, I sleep pretty late sometimes. I work in the day and I study at night. I'm a part-time student, and sometimes I get very little sleep, and I would like to have a watch like this in hand while I sleep, because I have this habit of getting up in the middle of the night to see what time is it, because I'm always really afraid of oversleeping. I don't know how many of you can relate, but it's a real problem for me. Not the end of the world, your alarm will wake you eventually, but it's really nice to get up slightly earlier than your alarm or the first snooze button, and you have a watch like this in the dark with loom, and you can actually see what time is it, and you can kind of pace how much more sleep you're going to get in between. Not everyone could relate, but for someone like me who doesn't get much sleep during this period of time or this period of my life, I find this very helpful. When you're driving at night, this loom really glows at night. I've never had a problem where the loom is not existent or not bright enough. This thing is pretty bright. You can compare it with the Seiko SKX. You can compare it with what Oris has. You can compare it with the other Swiss brands, maybe even Longines if you want to. This loom is pretty good. It's not quote unquote budget by any means. It's rather good. I wouldn't call it insane. I wouldn't call it Seiko Monster insane, but it's pretty good. Gets the job done. So I've had my experiences with it, and yeah, loom is fantastic for the price. The dial is really nice. It's a blue inky dial. It's really blue inky dial. You can compare it with watches 3 times the price. It looks fantastic. The chapter ring is, I guess, almost perfectly aligned. It looks a little bit to the left, but it's so minor that I only notice it after 2 years of owning the watch. So if it took me 2 years to notice the misalignment, then I would say it's perfectly aligned in my opinion. Then it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. Like, oh look, quarter millimeter, yeah, nothing's gonna happen to you, it's fine. The day and date is of course helpful. Only thing is that the day and date change cycle would take place somewhere around maybe 10, and it will be fully complete around 3 or 4. Does it matter? Not really. Most of you will be asleep by time then, or I'm sure, come on, with not knowing the date for a few hours won't kill you. It's fine, it's not the end of the world. The bezel is I gotta be real with you, the bezel is not the best. The bezel is tight, but here's the funny thing with it, the bezel works really well underwater. I don't know, maybe it's because the gaskets are too tight or the click springs are not, I don't know, well made or something, but the bezel works incredibly well and tactile when you're underwater. So if you're actually diving with this, the bezel is fantastic. Day-to-day use, if your fingers are wet, well, God bless you trying to turn this. It ain't gonna turn, buddy, unless you sink your fingernails in there and then you turn. And what else should we talk about? Yeah, screw down crown, of course. It's a diver's watch. It's not a certified ISO diver, but come on, screw down crown, 200 meter. It's made by Orient. It's not any, you know, fashion brand we're talking about here. And so screw down case back, and yeah, this thing can go diving, I'm pretty sure. But come on, 200 meters of water is then, I mean, the watch should probably last longer than you underwater. Just don't worry about it. This thing does the job really well. Although admittedly I have not gone diving with this. I've taken it to the shower, of course. I've tried to turn the bezel inside a bucket of water just to see how well it works underwater, and the bezel is fantastic. Bezel works, not the most comfortable. And what do I have to say about it? Well, oh yes, the movement. The movement, it's a budget movement. It has hacking and hand winding. It's a budget movement. It's the Orient F6922 movement. The tolerance is something like what? Minus 25, plus 25, something like that. But hear me out. This movement, you can quote unquote self-regulate it. I'm sure every watch has their own personality, but I've tried this. I rest it overnight. Okay, I wear it during the day. Your 8-hour job. I walk quite a bit, so I wear this throughout the day. And then at night, if I rest it crown up like this overnight, and then I wear it back, it actually keeps insanely good time. It gains like maybe 2 seconds a day, which is pretty insane. We're talking about a watch that costs below 1,000 ringgit here. And yeah, for my testing for this particular piece, I've went like a month, and I gained about, I don't know, 30 seconds. 30 seconds a month is pretty insane. It's pretty insane for a budget piece like this. And here guys, we're talking about mechanicals, we're not talking about quartz here, so have a bit of tolerance, I suppose, but it's pretty great for what it is. The red second hand, beautiful, just beautiful. I like how it contrasts against the dial. What else do we got? Hand winding. This thing, it's a breeze, just that the crown is small, so just bear in mind with a small crown, unscrewing it's a bit of a pain. Not gonna lie, as much as I love this watch, the crown, come on Orient, I'm sure you can do better with the crown. And you would think that the new Kamasu that came out after this would have improved the crown, but no. The bezel in the Kamasu is greatly improved. It's easier to turn, but it's missing that tactile feel when you turn. How do I put it? It's like, okay, when you grab a Seiko turtle, I'm sure I'm gonna get a lot of haters for this. When you grab a Seiko turtle or Seiko samurai and you turn, the clicks in between feels very plasticky. I don't know whether you guys feel me. I might get some people flaming me for this, but here's what I feel personally, in my opinion. The click action in the Seiko turtle and the samurais feels plasticky. It feels kind of cheap. I mean, it does the job, but it feels kind of cheap. This one, it has a very solid click. I don't know how to put it to you. Of course, I can't do it with one hand. It's pretty hard to do one hand. I don't know if you can hear it. Nah, it's fine, I give up. But yeah, as you can see, it's not easy to do with one hand. This bezel needs a bit of force to turn, which is a good thing and a bad thing, of course. But the action when you do turn this, it's very precise, and the clicks are really, deep feeling, if that makes any sense. It doesn't feel cheap, that's for sure. It doesn't feel cheap. But on the Kamasu, the clicks feel plasticky, kind of like the turtle. I don't get it. Maybe it's personal preference, but hey, it is what it is. The crown, the Kamasu, you would think that it would improve it, but now Orient's a bit stubborn that way, and crown the Kamasu is like that. If you really like this watch, go for it. Especially used, you can get it for really cheap prices. I've seen them go as low as $100, sometimes even cheaper than that, the used ones. Brand new, you can get it about $150, plus minus 600, 700 ringgit. It's still a really value buy if you really like this design. But in my personal opinion, if this is not a design you must get, I would rather go for the Kamasu instead. I've tried it in person. The crown action is equally terrible, but the bezel is a lot better, easier to operate, which, I mean, it's a more practical day-to-day use. Case size is a bit bigger, same exact amazing movement, and it's a cheap movement, so to speak. Gotta be real with ourselves. It's a cheap movement, but it's durable enough, served me well throughout the years, cheap to service if you want to service. But personally, for a watch at this price range, I would just use it until the movement dies completely, and then maybe repair it down the line because of the cost factor when it comes to this kind of budget watches. So what do I think about this after owning it after such a long time? Well, for a start, the bracelet is comfortable. Many people complain that, oh, it's very hollow, it's very cheap feeling. Yeah, it might feel kind of cheap, but for the price you pay and for in terms of function, it's pretty good. It does the job really well. And here's the thing, 3 micro adjusts on this bracelet. I've had a Hamilton and I've handled a few other budget Swiss divers looking at US Watch Group. They come with 2 micro adjusts. There's some of them, if we are not referring to dive watches from the same Swatch group, like, well, Longines for example, not the bracelets come with 2 micro adjusts. And here's the funny thing, yes, this bracelet is not well made or as premium as the Hamilton, Longines, Certina, and you know, these bigger Swiss brands. But here's the thing, I know it's a cheap bracelet, I know, but these micro adjusts means night and day to me. Having 3 micro adjusts is the bare minimum for a comfortable bracelet, in my opinion. Maybe if you have a bigger wrist, this might not be a problem. My wrist is just 6.5 inches, which is Asian size. Well, Asian size? Does that sound racist? I don't know. I mean, just telling my race. I'm Asian. Get at me. So yeah, bracelet, build quality, push pins, nothing fancy. Scratch to hell, does the job. I have a lot of memories with this. Clasp, feels cheap, yes, but solid. It does not feel like it's going to break anytime soon. Like, I have no, if I ever get in a brawl with this watch on, I am not worried about this thing breaking and flying anywhere. If anything, I'll be worried about the other person. This thing, and it has a bit of weight. Some of you might not like it, it has a bit of weight. But here's the thing, if you wear it on the bracelet, it's fine. If you do wear it on a rubber strap, make sure you have a thick rubber strap. A thin rubber strap might not wear this comfortably because the weight of this watch, it's quite a weighty watch by the way. The weight of this watch will cause the watch to actually wobble left to right on your wrist. Unless you have a really big wrist, I suppose. It'll wobble on your wrist and it's not really comfortable on a thin leather or rubber strap. Just keep that in mind. It's either you're going to go bracelet or a very thick rubber or leather strap. Just don't go with the thin straps, my experience. It's very compact. This case is really compact. It's 46mm lug to lug. It wears almost like a dress watch. If you're in a pinch, you need a dress watch like there and there, this could cut it. Is this going to replace your Patek Philippe Calatrava or I don't know, your Orient Bambino maybe? No, it's not. But it's a very simple, classy, timeless design, and some might argue, oh, it's a complete ripoff of the Rolex Submariner. No, it's not. It might be a homage, it might be, but it's clearly its own thing. You got the inky dials, you got the Orient emblem, and then you got this mix of trapezoid and circle hands. No, it's not an Explorer. Get that out of here. It's not an Explorer. I mean, it's not a Submariner. This might have elements of other watches in it, but it's not a direct ripoff like, you know, some other AliExpress brands. I don't have to mention, you know them. If you don't know, just mention in the comment what do you think. And that's the bracelet. The bezel, like I mentioned, I'm gonna knock it really hard for it. It's usable, but it's an absolute pain to use it when your fingers are wet or sweaty. The dial, extremely beautiful, very legible. You'll never have issues trying to read the time. So the dial is fantastic, nothing to worry. All in all, if you want to keep one watch for everything, I think this is a pretty good candidate. It's not big to the point that you can't make it as a make-do dress watch. You can use this as a dress watch if you want. Of course, haters are going to be like, oh no, it has a diverse bezel, it's so complicated. Oh, you can't use this as a dress watch. Why not use the SKX as a dress watch? Oh no, Sash, what are you doing? But it's the modern day. I've been to meetings where women who are wearing Ferrari watches that are like 45, 46 millimeters with a suit. Now, I'm not saying go that extreme. No, don't go that extreme. But this 46 millimeter lug to lug, it's almost at dress watch territory. And this will definitely fit under your cuff. I'm pretty sure this can fit under most cuffs unless you wear really, really tight clothes. What else? Yes, the glass, it's mineral. Yeah, I know, mineral, knock it. Oh, it's gonna get scratches. Oh, deal with it. Just be careful. Scratches are gonna come any one way or another. I'm sure you could replace it for sapphire. It won't cost that much if you want to. But for what it is, I don't have that much scratches. Some people complain that the glass is a bit soft. I don't think I have scratches. I have smudges on it, but no scratches yet. Maybe I'm not aware of them. The hands and the markers are steel, polished steel. You can see, the camera's not focusing, but you can see it's really beautiful. All in all, for a watch that costs below 1,000 ringgit, I got it for about 830 a few years ago, and that's about, I don't know, 200 something dollars. For a $200 watch, what are my final thoughts? It does not feel like a $200 watch. It feels more than that. I mean, I don't know, come at me if you want, but I've handled Longines. They are Hydro Conquest, and I compared it to this. You'd be surprised, it's not that far away. Of course, the bezel on the Hydro Conquest is much more nicer. Plasticky feeling too, I don't like that, but it's easier to use. But compared to budget Swiss divers, this thing definitely has the bang for buck on its side. Basic diver, 200 meter water resistant, takes a hell of a beating. I've gone to hiking, I've gone running with this. I've done a lot of things with this, let's put it that way. Keeps really good time. Power reserve you can't compare with the Powermatic 80 movements, obviously. Power reserve is about 40 hours, but mine actually gets a little bit more. I get about 43 to 44 hours, which is strange, but yeah. Pretty solid all-rounder watch. Can't fault it. For the price, you ain't gonna lose on it. So, what is the story between me and this watch now? I've had a lot of memories with this. It has served me right. What's happening now? Well, unfortunately, I'm actually gonna sell this. Oh no, why are you selling it? Yes, I'm actually gonna sell this. Why? I know I have it engraved, and I'm still gonna sell it. It's because I've reached that point of time in every watch collector's journey where eventually you sell off most of your collection to get your grail piece, so to speak. I won't tell you what's my grail piece yet. You have to find out in the future videos, but it's gonna be good. It's not super expensive, but it's gonna be good when it comes. So yeah, important lesson to every boy and girl out there who is into collecting watches: do not engrave your watches unless it's your exit piece, or you are done with watches, or you are a confirmed hoarder. Because if you engrave your watches, you're gonna have an insanely tough time trying to resell it. So just keep that in mind before you engrave your precious watch. The only time you should engrave your watch is if someone gives you a watch, it's a wedding watch, it's a present from your mom or dad and that you cannot sell, it has super amount of sentimental value that you cannot sell it, then go ahead and engrave it. Or you know that's your exit piece, you're like, you buy that piece and you're done, you're not in the game anymore. Otherwise, you know, buy it, wear it, enjoy it, and someday in the future, if you do decide to upgrade and if you do decide to sell it, you won't have too much trouble. I know people be like, oh, I'm buying this and I'm not going to sell it. Oh, I love this watch so much, I'm never going to sell it. Been there, done that. Like one YouTube channel by the name of Peter Kotza, he said that he calls that a failed relationship. I agree with him. Sometimes you get a watch you really like, you work really hard for, and then you fall out of love with it. It's a failed relationship. Sometimes it happens. You just take the hit, sell it, and move on. Well, that wraps up. That's about it. That wraps the whole video. I know it's a really long and lengthy video for an Orient Ray 2, but let me know in the comments, what do you think of my honest, no nonsense approach to my own personal collection? And I hope to see you guys soon. Thanks for watching.